The day I hit $50,000, I thought I'd finally feel safe, but instead, something far more powerful happened. Most people think $50,000 is just a number, but the ones who've actually crossed that line know it's not about the money, it's about the invisible shift that happens inside your mind, your relationships, and your entire future. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what changes, why it changes, and how you can use it to build something that most people only dream about. Segment 1, the moment everything feels different. Let me ask you something honest. When you were broke, or just getting by, what did you think about the most? Bills. Rent. Whether your card would decline at the grocery store. Your entire mental energy, every single day, was consumed by survival. You weren't thinking about opportunities, investments, or building wealth. You were just trying to make it to the next paycheck. And that's not a personal failure, that's what financial stress does to the human brain. Scientists call it scarcity mindset, and it literally shrinks your ability to think long-term, make smart decisions, and see the bigger picture. But here's where $50,000 changes everything. The moment you cross that threshold, your brain, for the first time, gets a taste of something it has never properly experienced before. Security. Not luxury. Not freedom yet. Just the basic, foundational feeling that you are not one emergency away from losing everything. And that one feeling, it rewires how you see money, how you make decisions, and how you show up in every area of your life. Psychologists call this the shift from scarcity thinking to abundance thinking, and it is one of the most powerful transformations a human being can go through. You stop reacting to money, and you start thinking ahead of it. You stop spending to feel better, and you start investing to feel stronger. You stop looking at wealthy people with envy, and you start studying them with curiosity. This is not motivation talk. This is neuroscience. This is psychology. This is what actually happens when your bank account crosses $50,000, and we are just getting started. Segment 2, the people around you start to change. Now here is something nobody warns you about, and honestly, this one caught me completely off guard when it happened. When you start building real money, when people around you begin to notice that you are making different choices, living differently, thinking differently, your relationships will shift in ways you never expected. And I am not just talking about strangers or colleagues. I am talking about your closest friends. Your family members. People you have known your entire life. Here is the hard truth, some people in your life are comfortable with the version of you that was struggling. That version was safe to them. That version never made them feel behind. That version never accidentally held up a mirror to their own financial choices. But the moment you hit $50,000, the moment you start talking about investing, about cutting unnecessary expenses, about building something real, some people will not celebrate you. They will question you. They will call you cheap. They will say you have changed. And you know what? They are right. You have changed. But that is not a bad thing, that is the whole point. On the other side of this, something beautiful also happens. You will start attracting a completely different circle of people. People who talk about assets instead of liabilities. People who share investment ideas instead of complaints. People who push you forward instead of pulling you back. Your network begins to upgrade, not because you became arrogant or forgot where you came from, but because your mindset naturally starts aligning with people who are on the same path. Jim Rohn said it best, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And when your financial foundation shifts, your 5 people will shift too. Guard that circle carefully, because the right people at this stage can multiply your $50,000 into something life-changing, and the wrong ones can quietly drain it before you even realize what happened. Segment 3, you stop spending like everyone else. Here is something fascinating that happens after you hit $50,000, and this one surprises most people because it goes completely against what they expected. You would think that having more money means spending more money. You would think that finally having a solid bank account would make you want to reward yourself, upgrade your lifestyle, and enjoy the things you could not afford before. And yes, To a small degree, that happens. But something much deeper and much more powerful happens first. You develop what I call money consciousness, a heightened awareness of exactly where every single dollar is going and what it is doing for your future. Before $50,000, spending was emotional. You bought things to feel better, to fit in, to escape the stress of not having enough. A new outfit, a dinner out, an impulse purchase online at midnight, these were not really about the items themselves. They were about feelings. They were about filling a gap that financial insecurity had created inside you. But after $50,000, your relationship with spending fundamentally transforms. You start seeing every purchase not just as a price tag, but as a trade. You start asking a question that most people never ask: is this worth more to me right now than what it could become if I invested it? That $200 impulse buy is no longer just $200. Your brain starts calculating. That is a monthly subscription to a course that could teach me a new income skill. That is 2 months of contributions toward a compounding investment. That is a small but real step toward $100,000. This is not about being cheap or depriving yourself of joy. This is about the fact that once you have built something real, you naturally become protective of it. You stop spending unconsciously and you start spending with intention. Every dollar gets a job. Every purchase gets evaluated. And slowly, quietly, this one habit alone begins separating you further and further from the financial average, because while everyone around you is lifestyle inflating, you are silently building. Segment 4. You stop relying on one source of income. Let me tell you something that the wealthy understand deeply, something that took me way too long to figure out, and something that most people working a regular 9-to-5 job will never discover until it is too late. Before $50,000, your entire financial life depends on one single source of income. Your job. Your salary. That one paycheck that comes in every month and disappears almost just as fast. And the terrifying reality of living with only one income stream is this: if that one stream dries up tomorrow, everything stops. Your rent, your groceries, your bills, your entire life, all of it, is hanging by a single thread. But here is what crossing $50,000 does to that thinking permanently. For the first time, you have actual capital, real money that is not just sitting there waiting to be spent on survival. You have breathing room. You have options. And the moment you realize that your money can actually work for you instead of you always working for your money, everything changes. You start looking at the world differently. You stop seeing your job as your financial identity and you start seeing it as just one engine in what should be a much bigger machine. This is the stage where people start seriously exploring dividend stocks that pay you every single quarter just for holding them. This is where index funds begin making sense, not as a gamble but as a long-term wealth-building vehicle that has historically rewarded patient investors more than almost anything else. This is where people start looking at side income, freelancing, digital products, content creation, or even a small online business, not because they are desperate, but because they finally have the mental space and the financial cushion to take calculated risks without betting their entire survival on the outcome. The rich do not have one income stream. Studies consistently show that most millionaires have at least 3 to 7 sources of income working simultaneously. And the beautiful thing about reaching $50,000 is that it gives you the launchpad, the foundation, to start building that same structure for yourself. You are no longer just earning. You are now in a position to start engineering your financial future with real intention and real strategy. Segment 5. You start taking smarter risks. Here is one of the most underrated shifts that happens after you hit $50,000, and this one is absolutely critical if you want to understand why some people grow their wealth exponentially after this point while others stay stuck at the same number for years. Your relationship with risk completely transforms. And I want to be very specific here because this is not about becoming reckless or throwing your money into random investments hoping something sticks. This is about something far more intelligent and far more powerful than that. Before $50,000, risk felt like a threat. Every financial decision carried the weight of potential disaster behind it. Thinking about starting a business felt dangerous because if it failed, you had nothing to fall back on. Investing in the stock market felt like gambling because if the market dropped, you had no cushion to survive the wait for it to recover. Even negotiating for a higher salary felt risky because what if they said no and things became uncomfortable at work? When you have nothing saved, every risk feels existential, because for you, it actually is. One wrong move and you are back to zero. So your brain, trying to protect you, keeps you frozen. Keeps you playing small. Keeps you saying, maybe next year, to every opportunity that requires any level of courage. But $50,000 changes your entire risk calculation. Suddenly you have a financial buffer, a safety net that means a calculated risk no longer threatens your survival. If you invest $5,000 into something and it does not work out, you still have $45,000. Your life does not fall apart. Your family does not go hungry. You learn, you adjust, and you try again. This psychological safety is not just comforting, it is strategically transformative. It means you can finally say yes to opportunities that your broke self had to say no to purely out of fear. This is exactly why wealthy people seem to keep getting wealthier while everyone else watches from the sidelines. It is not because they are smarter or luckier or more talented. It is because their financial cushion allows them to take the kinds of calculated, intelligent risks that create real wealth, while people without that cushion are forced to stay safe, stay small, and stay exactly where they are. Your $50,000 is not just savings. It is your permission slip to finally start playing the game at a completely different level. Segment 6, you stop trading time for money. Here is a mindset shift that quietly happens after $50,000, and most people do not even notice it until they look back. Before this point, time and money felt like the same thing. You worked more hours to earn more money. You took every extra shift, every overtime opportunity, every side job, not because you wanted to, but because you had to. Your time was not really yours. It belonged to whoever was paying you. And that is an exhausting, unsustainable way to build a financial life. But after $50,000, something quietly shifts inside you. You start realizing that your most limited resource is not money anymore, it is time. And more importantly, you start understanding that the goal is not to work harder for money, but to build systems where money works harder for you. You begin valuing your hours differently. You start saying no to low-value activities that drain your energy without moving your life forward. You become selective about where you invest your time because you now understand that wasted time at this stage is far more expensive than wasted money. This is where people start automating their investments, outsourcing small tasks, and focusing only on the highest value actions that actually grow their wealth and freedom. Time becomes the real currency, and $50,000 is what first opens your eyes to that truth. Segment 7, you stop feeling ashamed of talking about money. Here is something deeply personal that changes after $50,000, and this one goes far beyond spreadsheets and investment accounts. Your confidence around money transforms completely. Before this point, most people feel a quiet shame around financial conversations. When someone asks about your savings, you change the subject. When the topic of investing comes up, you stay silent because you feel like you have no right to speak. When you see someone driving a nice car or living in a beautiful home, there is a subtle voice inside you that whispers, "That will never be me." That shame is not weakness. It is simply what financial insecurity does to your self-image over time. But after $50,000, that inner voice starts changing its tone. You walk into financial conversations with a quiet confidence that was simply not there before. You start asking questions you were previously too embarrassed to ask. You start sitting at tables where money is being discussed seriously, and instead of feeling like an outsider, you feel like you belong there. That confidence bleeds into every area of your life. Your career negotiations. Your business decisions. Even your daily interactions carry a different energy when you know that you have a real financial foundation beneath you. Money confidence is not arrogance. It is clarity. And $50,000 gives you just enough of it to start showing up differently in every room you walk into. Segment 8. You stop living week to week and start thinking in years. Here is one of the most powerful transformations that happens after $50,000, and this one changes everything about how you make decisions every single day. Before this point, your financial vision was short. Dangerously short. You were thinking about this week's bills, next month's rent, maybe surviving until the end of the year. Long-term planning felt like a luxury that only rich people could afford, because when you are living paycheck to paycheck, next Tuesday feels far enough away. Dreaming about 5 years from now felt pointless when you could not even see clearly past the next 30 days. But after $50,000, your mental timeline expands dramatically. For the first time, you start thinking in years instead of weeks. You start asking questions like, where do I want to be financially in 5 years? What does my life look like at 40, at 50? How much do I need invested to never have to worry about money again? These are not fantasy questions anymore. They are real, actionable questions that you now have the foundation to actually answer and work toward. Your $50,000 gives your long-term vision something it never had before, credibility. Because now you have proof that you can build. You have done it once, and your brain finally believes you can do it again, bigger and better. This long-term thinking quietly reshapes every financial decision you make going forward, and that shift alone is worth more than the $50,000 itself. Segment 9, the real reason $50,000 changes everything. So here is the truth that ties everything together, and I want you to really sit with this before you scroll away. The reason $50,000 changes everything is not because of the number itself. It is not magic. It is not some secret threshold that unlocks a hidden door in the universe. The real reason everything shifts at this point is because $50,000 represents proof. Proof that you can delay gratification when everyone around you is spending. Proof that you can stay consistent when motivation disappears. Proof that you can make intentional decisions in a world that is specifically designed to take your money from you at every single turn. That proof rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with money and you start seeing yourself as someone who builds wealth. And that identity shift, that quiet but powerful change in how you see yourself, is ultimately what drives every transformation we talked about today. The mindset shift. The relationship changes. The smarter risks. The multiple income streams. The time awareness. The confidence. The long-term vision. All of it flows from one simple but profound belief: I am someone who figures this out. So if you are not at $50,000 yet, that is completely okay. Start where you are. Save what you can. Stay consistent longer than feels comfortable. Because the moment you cross that line, you will not just have more money. You will have a completely different relationship with yourself, with people around you, and with your entire future. If this video gave you even one idea that could change your financial life, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Because the best financial decision you can make right now costs you absolutely nothing. It is simply choosing to stay educated, stay consistent, and never stop building.